Hello everyone, welcome back to another video with voiceover. I kind of do these videos with voiceover just because they're honestly easier to edit and it lets me just ramble without having to make too many cuts to my audio. So you've kind of seen what my workday morning routine looks like, so I figured I'd give you a sneak peek of something that I do often in the evenings. As you can probably tell, this is pretty dark. So what I'm actually doing is I am journaling. I have a handful of journals that I use, but this particular one that you see is for very kind of specific purpose. It's for a lot of my random thoughts and for, I don't know, dreams or musings that I want to go on. My attempt at being philosophical, which isn't much, and it's one of the few that I keep very decorative. The other large one that I pull out is my travel journal. It's just where I keep kind of memories related to travels or events that I go to, and I was getting it out very specifically because I wanted to look at a particular page from when I studied in the UK in 2013. So what I'm actually writing in this journal on this particular night was something I kind of experienced in my mind's eye, that is, through a past life regression meditation session. It's some of the only meditation that I do because I think I've mentioned before on this channel that I have high functioning ADHD, and that means meditation where I just have to sit there and clear my mind doesn't really work for me. I can't quiet my mind and focus it like that. But if I have somebody telling me to either imagine or, do something in a way, it's a lot easier for me to kind of calm my mind and clear it, and in some cases like this, see something that may or not be real, or just, it could be something that I'm making up in my imagination, but it's fun. And this most recent regression that I did, I actually saw something and I was struck by how similar it seemed to something else. So I keep glancing over because I keep getting to a detail and then checking it, which was that during my study abroad in the UK, my group did one major travel weekend where we traveled all sorts of places, and one particular place we went was Stonehenge. And later that night, I had this really vivid, visceral dream, which I just sort of chalked up to my imagination. And it was pretty unique anyway, because I, in general, don't always remember my dreams. If I do, it's unique that I do, and it means it really stands out. But I just don't often remember them. And I woke up from this dream and I was like, wow, that was pretty crazy. And I kind of wrote down some bullet points of what had happened on a scrap piece of paper, and I didn't think too much about it, except that while I was studying abroad there, it kept reoccurring, and I'd never really had a recurring dream, nor any that I remembered at least. So I eventually went and full on wrote it in my travel journal because I was just like, this is too weird, I have to write it down because it was so vivid and visceral. So while during this past life regression session, I basically kind of had the same experience, the same dream, and it was just so weird. I knew I had to write about it. I got into journaling more recently. I've always sort of scribbled on pieces of papers. I am constantly writing. As you saw, I have 3 notebooks I take to work, and they're all for different purposes. I am always writing. My coworkers are now very used to it. I prefer to handwrite than type a lot of the time, so yeah, everything gets written down at some point in time. But I really got into it because, as I said, I have high-functioning ADHD, but with that comes some anxiety and depression. And actually this year, I've never really talked about this, in June I had a really major depressive crash. Couldn't get out of bed. It took all my effort to stand up out of a chair. I couldn't eat. The thought of, taking food, putting it in my mouth, chewing it, swallowing it, it made me feel sick. So I really couldn't eat. And I can say that I'm on the road to being better. I don't want to say I'm fully better yet because it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, but I did get some counseling. I'm now on prescriptions, which you saw in my other video, though I didn't really go into detail about them. And journaling often helps me get my thoughts out. It doesn't always help me sort them through, but because of my anxiety, I have a lot of circular, spiral, repetitive thinking. And so if I just let it fester in my head, it's not good. Writing it down on paper often helps me really experience the emotion more than just trying to bottle it up. I have a lot of ingrained habits of trying to bottle my emotions and appearing strong and like nothing really bothers me all that much. Oh, this is the point. I think I was checking a text and then switching to an audiobook before I'd just had some YouTube up on my phone. I'm listening to a history of the Tudors from Henry VIII to Elizabeth I. But yeah, back to mental health. I do suffer from depression and anxiety, and my counselor who I go to for that actually helped me through with the recovery of my eating disorder. I don't think I've ever talked about it here. Wow, we're just doing fun facts with Mad today. I was a bulimic, and my eating issues really started in mid to late 2012, and were in full force throughout all of 2013 and a lot of 2014. I started getting help in 2014, and I say that I'm pretty much recovered, but it's hard to say you're recovered from something like that because it's never really about food. It's about something else. It's, in my case, a lot of anxiety, control issues. Oh yeah, that was the moment I realized I'd grabbed the wrong color because it was so dark I wasn't paying attention. I wanted dark blue and I grabbed a dark green. But yeah, I am better. But the hard part of any form of counseling is that essentially you're trying to rewire your brain. You're trying to change the pathways that your thoughts take. And that's why my counselor always reminds me, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's going to take time. It's going to be hard. And you're probably going to fuck up sometimes. And that's okay. And yeah, that's sort of what really got me into journaling, especially in this style, and adding sort of decorative touches, anything from stickers. In this video, a lot of the stickers I use are from a shop called Paper Kumiko, and I love their stuff. And, you know, bits of washi tape, which I think I bought on AliExpress. And this particular thing I'm pasting in here was actually part of a card my friend had made me, and I just always liked it, so I save it. I have some pack rat hoarding tendencies, so I always have stuff like this lying around, so this is a chance for me to use it. And I think I had a photograph earlier, and that was photos from my iPhone that I printed using Shutterfly, a lot of them from my trip to Japan. And doing this, it can also help if I'm not having a good day emotionally. It lets me do something productive. I can be a little creative because I'm adding the little visual touches, and then I'm writing, which is something I obviously enjoy doing and is good. I suppose there really wasn't much of a point to this, and I'm sure many people have switched off and stopped caring. If you've stuck this long, congratulations. You just had babbling, rambling story time with Mad. I suppose I just want to close off, because this just turned into a slight, very shallow discussion on mental health, that I realize I'm in a privileged position where I have a job that gives me health insurance where I can reasonably afford mental health care. And I understand that's not a position everybody's in, but I would always say, if you're in that position or you can find some kind of help and you think you might need it, or you know someone who you think might need it, I encourage you to chase it. I've frequently encouraged counseling. I've even recommended my counselor to people. And I just think it's really important, and also really important to have good friends. I feel so privileged to have some friends. One of my closest friends and oldest friends really by this point lives close to me, and she checks in with me every couple days because she knows that I'm not the type to reach out. I would rather control and bury any pain that I feel as opposed to reaching out to people, because I don't want to seem weak and I don't want it to come back on me later. But I have really good friends who reach out to me because they know that I'm like that. And so, yeah, in the case of mental health, I say go get any help that you can, because it is good, even if it's just something as simple as journaling nonsense in the evening.
Thanks for watching me ramble today. If you'd like to see more from me, go ahead and click that button with my face on it. It'll take you to my channel where I ramble about a whole lot of different things. Got some thoughts of your own? Go ahead and leave them down in the comments. And make sure that if you want to see more ramblings from me, you click that little subscribe button. That's it for me today, you guys, so until next time, cheers.